So we usually start off the podcast with you stating your name and what you do in your own words.
Yeah.
And that way we can have the listeners get to know you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm in. Well, everybody, hello world. My name is Brandon Reynolds. I'm the CEO, founder, chief bee at Be the Keeper. And we do a lot of fun stuff, but our main thing is we work with businesses and landowners, like, people that own houses, that have land that they manage, mow, put plants on, whatever. Businesses and landowners, we work with them to plant pollinator habitat around the city. So we're having a lot of fun with that, and I think we're going to dig into that and much more today.
Yeah.
Yes. We also wanted to start off with your Cincinnati origin story. So did you grow up here? And or if not, how'd you make your way here?
Oh, yeah.
And Brad's favorite question, what school did you go to?
Wait, you two are from Cincinnati. If you
So I am, and he's not, but he just gets a kick out of it.
I always ask the question because I got hit with a question so many times and couldn't answer it when I moved here. And I'm like,
he was outcasted.
Little small town in Indiana is where I'm from. Yeah.
Moores Hill?
North Vernon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's the only place I know because I used to go to beekeeping meetings there.
Okay.
And they'd be like, why are you in Moores Hill? But I'm from Cincinnati. I've been here the whole time. Never left except for some international trips and a vacation. And then I think the only other place I went to Brazil, Europe, not Cancun, Cabo.
Yeah.
And Boston and Denver, Colorado, which is a great place as well. I haven't really been out a lot recently, but I've been here permanently, paid taxes here ever since I could. And I went to St. Xavier High School.
Oh.
Yeah.
So is that okay? I don't know where you went.
I went to Turpin.
Whoa.
So, yeah, I did.
You
I
had
actually
your flag in our
was
gymnasium. Yeah.
I was friends with a decent amount of Xavier boys. I played soccer and I got to know a lot of the different schools. But from like Ursula friends and Ursuline friends that hung out with them, and I played soccer with them, so then got to like expand the friend groups. Wow. But yeah, so I'm an East Sider. Like,
I think that's,
did you grow up on the West Side, or
I grew up in they called it the West Side because it's like right in the middle.
Okay,
I think so. It was in Bond Hill.
Okay, yeah,
I mean that's technically east of 75, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's technically east, but
West. I've never heard of that.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Central.
It's like, yeah, we can be. We're not Ken, but we're close.
Yeah.
I was born actually on Mulberry Street, so I was downtown for a while, but you know how parents they just get you a little further out of the city, further.
Well, I moved from Milton to Pleasant Ridge and had a kid, so I guess that's true for me.
Yeah, which Pleasant Ridge is getting in Mulberry Street. I keep thinking about Greg Hand again, but his wife Linda, her brother, had a lot of special memories on Mulberry Street. I think if I remember from years ago when we talked, does that have a lot of trees on it? A lot of nice trees?
Yeah, there are a lot of trees, and it's like the hillside is actually not even developed yet. So there's a decent amount of green space, and it has good
Makes
views.
me think that hillside maybe can't be developed.
Yeah, I know.
It might slide down.
Yeah, that's true. It's pretty steep. It's pretty steep.
No, that's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's good. You're from Indiana.
Yeah.
You're from Cincinnati. You played soccer.
Mm-hmm.
I was a track guy.
Nice.
But I was like the fastest guy on junior varsity and the slowest guy on varsity. So just like the West Side, I was in the middle of strength, I guess. Like when you said that you knew a decent amount of people from that GCL connection, I thought you were going to say, I knew a decent guy from St. X once.
Just one.
Just one decent guy.
Is that how you describe yourself? A decent guy from St. X?
Yeah, I would say I'm a decent guy from St. X.
All right.
I mean, that's even, when you guys, I know you're going to grill me with these questions, but I feel so fun right now.
Yeah.
St. X was the start of everything, just being a decent guy.
Yeah.
I would say that, gosh, this is so crazy because I feel like, sometimes when your brain just thinks back to what was that? 2006. Yeah. I was a freshman, right? So I'm still a kid. But yeah, I was just a decent guy. I was decent at everything. I had an 85 average. I was like I said, track athlete average. I I was always felt like I was just an average, I was kind of a skinny bird-chested guy. I had a decent amount of friends on Facebook, and back then you used to count number of wall posts on Facebook to find out if you were cool.
Yeah.
So like, oh man, like, Desiree, she's got 1,500 wall posts. I've got 38. Got to keep having random conversations with people till I get up to that 1,000.
Yeah. And the younger people listening to this are going to be like, what's Facebook?
What's Facebook? That's funny.
And then what's a wall post?
What's a wall post? Yeah. That's even, do you even remember when Facebook, because my buddy and I we're building a new platform now, but for something else. And we were thinking about how all platforms kind of started off like a dinosaur-esque.
Yeah.
And Facebook, it used to even have a section where it'd say, what are you interested in? Dating, friendship, and you could select whatever I can get. But nobody remembers that except, dinosaurs like us.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh, and it started off with only colleges. Like it was only for the college kids.
I remember, I went to University of Southern Indiana my freshman year, and that's a smaller school. And like my friends at IU or Purdue or whatever, they had it before us, but we got it a few months later. So everyone at USI was like, "We got to get on this."
And now it's a virtual reality.
Yeah. Did you go to University of Cincinnati? Because it sounds like you have a decent amount of connections from there.
Yeah. That's the place. I think I have $1,000 left of student loans until I'm whole. But yeah, I love that place.
Yeah.
Were you in the business college or?
Yeah. Gosh, I chose it. I mean, there's a whole story about why I chose it, but one of the reasons was red and black were two of my favorite colors.
Yeah, that's a good reason.
There was a superhero. I loved Sonic the Hedgehog as a kid, Sega Genesis. And then there was a game called Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. What a name. On GameCube. And there was he was a villain at first, but he turned out being a hero, which is, I'm like, I love this now.
Yeah.
Shadow the Hedgehog. And he was red and black. And I'm like,
I remember that one.
When he said Sonic, I was like, Sonic was blue.
That one was like,
that's actually right.
Isn't he the evil one, or was he just a different version?
Who, Shadow or Sonic?
Yeah, the Shadow one.
Yeah, he was like the evil one.
Yeah.
And it was like both of them like this.
Yeah.
But then I'm not going to spoil it. Wait, they're not going to play this game. They're going to play all the new stuff.
They've had time.
Yeah.
He sacrificed himself to save the team. And I was like, you are not evil.
That's amazing.
Secret hero.
Secret hero, yeah.
Well, so you went from St. X to UC, you were in the business school.
Yeah.
From like right after that, when I was looking at your LinkedIn, that looks very rational because you ended up in like advertising, right?
Yeah. My first, that was my second job after college, but within the same year that I graduated.
Okay.
I was a server at Taste of Belgium first.
Yeah.
From like July to December. And then I was like, I got to put this degree to work somehow. Because I don't know if all these tips are going to, give me enough cash to move out of my mom's.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started working at Curiosity Advertising.
Okay.
Which I think is just up the street.
Yeah. I want to hear more about Curiosity. So tell us like what, I'm not familiar with that place. And I love advertising because I went to UC as well and studied.
Are we the same?
It's a Cincinnati small world, but I studied marketing, real estate, and finance because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Whoa.
But I ended up in finance, but I am curious about this Curiosity advertising business that you started in.
Yeah. And then later I'll have to ask, I'm curious for you is, do you think there's a difference in the type of people who say finance and finance? I don't know.
That's a good question.
You heard it before, though.
I've heard people say it differently, but I've never even thought about why.
I don't know why, but I have an opinion of people
who say
finance. I say finance.
What is shake your hand so bad right now?
I say finance because I'm a pretty lowbrow type of guy.
Yeah, like the real estate people I follow, they're like, yeah, you refinance and I tried to like pull it off on some friends, like, yeah, you just interest rates are low, refinance. And I'm like, what?
You're following the wrong real estate people because I say finance over here.
Yeah, they're like, dude, you don't even have health insurance.
Finance.
Like, say finance, please.
It sounds like finesse too much. So I'm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't go back home to Southern Indiana and say finance.
Yes.
I would be ran out of town probably.
Yeah. No, I mean, Curiosity was cool. Everything. I'm still, like I said, I'm still a kid. I still got at least, my grandmother says she wants to go out at 103. She's 80 now as of a month ago. I made a bet with her like 15 years ago, I'd go out at 113, right? So
there you go.
Do the math. That's like at least 50 years from now, right? And I'm 30. So, but I still feel like a lot of these experiences are, coming together. Like, I mean, I love this table because I'm looking here and there's just like, it's like a tree and you got the different years of the tree.
Very on point with your brand.
Yeah, it's very on point. And it's like, I feel that because Curiosity was one of those really formative years. I mean, I was there from December. It might've been December 1st, 2015. I learned Taste of Belgium. JT Riley, if you're listening to this, you were the best manager ever.
There you go.
I think he runs operations for the whole company now, or I don't know. The guy might be in Dubai. He was so good. He taught me how to listen to the customer. And that was the best sales training I ever got. No offense to UC sales training, but they put me in front of real customers. Mm-hmm. All the sales training co-ops that I had at UC, I was supporting salespeople. But I always knew that I was crazier than the salespeople. I'm like, guys, you're being so sane talking to this client. Like, oh, hello, how do I get your needs? It's like, it's not as robotic, but whatever. Taste of Belgium's like, hey, I need you to go up to this table at table 26 in front of the bar. Oh no, table 23 in front of the bar, next to where they have these garage door gates that open. Mm-hmm. So next to where all the people's menus would be flying off. I need you to go up to that 6 top. And it's 3:00 in the afternoon. I need you to convince them to get a waffle chicken, so we can sell it, or, it just, and you have to go up to the table and say, hey, I know you guys, came here for pasta, but have you ever tried this? I'm not going to push you to eat the waffle chicken, but just, we're eating waffles after breakfast. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
And I think that was one of the most formative moments for my like sales, personas, or a skill that has become my own because you're talking to real people, and people come into the restaurant, they already know, they may know what they want, they may have no idea, they may say server's choice, they may be here trying to impress somebody they're on a date with, they may be here with their great grandparents, but you don't really get to meet that diverse of a group face to face unless you're you are very it's very more common for you to meet people from diverse backgrounds when you're in a customer forward space like serving.
Right. Yeah, and we've had a few previous guests like Jose and Ann Salazar and Molly Wellman, and the service industry here in Cincinnati has been a big topic that we've gone down that rabbit hole because I think it's something that leads front and center as far as putting Cincinnati out there for people. Like when people visit and they're surprised about the great time that they're having. A lot of it is like the service industry that we have here.
That is true. I know, for putting us on the map. But what's your business, obviously, you're highly involved in the community and bettering the community. What's your experience with the community here in Cincinnati? Because a lot of our previous guests were actually transplants. So what's unique about your community experience?
Yeah. And sorry, I know you're listening. I know she asked me about Curiosity. I know Morgan asked me about Curiosity.
We can get back to that too. That's fine.
It's in my head. I'm paying attention, guys.
You can answer that first, and then we can get into the community experience.
Yeah.
That's
now
totally
I'm hyped about the community thing. You want to do? I'll weave it in. Like,
okay, cool.
Is it the serving community or just like the community at large?
Community in general, however you experience it. Yeah.
It's a good thing. I mean, it goes with let's tie community and curiosity together. Curiosity, the people that I met there at work, right? Which we can talk about let's do it now. Like I was a traffic coordinator. Traffic person I was an entry-level employee. Mm-hmm. There were different pieces of creative that would need to travel throughout the agency before they got approval to go to client. So the account manager is like, what do you need? Let's figure this out, right? And then they say, hey, creative person, can you take this mumbo jumbo and turn it into a billboard? And they're like, sure. And they mock it up. And then I take that creative through, their next person, all the way up to the creative director. And if somebody doesn't like it, it goes right back down. Mm-hmm. And then by the time it makes it up to the creative director and they say, sure, this is great, send it off to the client for review. I did that from December up until some point in 2016. Then I moved to another position that was more sales oriented. And then I moved on to start this stuff. But the connection to community with that was that so many of the people that I met, the person that made my new website as of a month ago, her name was Maria B. That's her Maria B, right? I love that girl. MariaBDesign.com, I think is what it is, people.
That's amazing.
And it's crazy that, I didn't think anything about bees when I knew her, but it was just funny. Like, oh, you got a B last name. Now it's connected. But she sat behind me as one of the top creative people when I was doing traffic. Who else? Like the two, Vicki Johnson. She just retired. She was a person who hired me. She was the HR person until I think 2 months ago. Her grandkids used to run around the office whenever they would have like bring your kids to school day or bring your kids to work day. Yeah. And I would always goof off on them because, they looked like me when I was younger. Yeah. And we're just joking around and, one's got an afro that's bigger than his head and all this stuff. I'm at her retirement party. This was 2016. I'm talking about meeting her grandkids. I'm at a retirement party last month. So it's 2022. So what is that? 6 years. And these kids, they grow faster than belief. And he remembered me and he's about to go to college. And I'm like, dude, let's talk so that you can get, I think he wants to be a veterinarian. I'm like, let's talk about that.
That's amazing.
Because it's all about connecting to animals. They're just as alive as we are. I do bees. Let's figure this out. And so that's what Cincinnati is. Everything is connected, right?
I will say that. Yeah, it's crazy. It's sitting down with our guests too. It's like all the nuances and it's what is it? The 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon. And I say exactly. It's the 3 degrees of Cincinnati. Yeah. It's less than that. It's like we say it's 1.5 degrees. But so you probably met a ton of people because in an ad agency, I mean, you work with a ton of businesses. There's a ton of people involved, and you're learning a lot about brand management and how to build your brand. And Brad has bragged about your brand and for how young of a company it is, how well known it is. Mm-hmm. So speak to us about kind of how you built your bee brand.
Yeah, and I think when you said 3 degrees of Cincinnati, it's like, I don't know, one of my favorite movies is Interstellar. And I love space. Ender's Game was a book we had to read in high school. And this does connect to branding people. Just sometimes y'all say such fun stuff. I'm like, I have to respond to that. That's cool. But, when they do the, traveling through space, you have a dot on one side of the page and you got another dot on the other side of the page and you draw the line. It's like, that's a long time. Whereas they do the wormhole method and they just put 2 dots and they're right instantaneous. I think that's what Cincinnati is.
Yeah, that's true.
But for people, when you ask how did the brand of Be the Keeper, and it's funny because I haven't posted on Instagram since April, and the business has been doing better than I have ever. It's done better every year, but it's social media, and then there's social media, which I could do a better job at it. I mean, we just did a big install at Channel 9 WCPO News a month ago. I haven't posted about it, but it looks great, and we're gonna do more next year. But it's I think that the experiences that I have when I go and talk to students at schools or when I do events like this, it's real. And social media it's real as well in its own way. But, it's something to say that I haven't even been alive on Instagram since April 21st when I was showing some students at St. X High School how to do bees. And the brand has still grown because I think it's deeper. And I never actually left advertising. I left curiosity. But I mean, it was an amicable leave. I just, we can get into why I left later on. But I always think about, I'm still freaking advertising.
Right.
Yeah.
At Channel 9 News, right? It's there right now. I mean, it's wintertime, so it's not going to look like anything because everything's brown and developing. But Channel 9 News is one of the biggest media companies around. Right. I don't know any, there's a castle on Gilbert Avenue, right? And we did a pollinator habitat in front. And for years, it's been the same landscaping, just a couple bulbs and some liriope, which is a type of little grass looking thing with purple flowers. And we decked it out, put a bunch of species in there, still got more to put in next year because there's some supply shortages. But I think some golden Alexander is going in next spring. And a lot of these are, all of these plants are going to feed the native species. But at the end of the day, let's say, for example, we got some milkweed there, a bunch of milkweed in different places. It's going to grow back. It's going to get bigger and bigger every year. It's going to feed some butterflies. There are going to be people there because they take pictures under the castle because it's a freaking castle. And we're not in Scotland, right? Yeah. This isn't Outlander. We're in Cincinnati. And now when people take pictures there, they're going to see monarchs at different stages of their life cycle just by looking for free. And they could go up to Crohn's Conservatory up the hill. But boom, Channel 9 right here, we're all about making connections and showing people what's going on. But hey, we don't even have to put this on TV. Just go up to the landscape, go up to the property, and you can see real life happening, which is pollinators going through life, helping plants, all that jazz. And so when I say that the brand of Be the Keeper and why I've never left advertising, it's just a billboard on their lot. It's an out-of-home billboard that is on their landscaping.
Yeah.
And everybody, if you were to go up to Channel 9 right now and say, hey, how are you guys sustainable? They don't even have to say, like some people could say, well, we have LED lights, or we recycle. And those are great. Those are great things, right? Keep those good lights.
Part of the solution, not the whole solution.
Yeah, they could say, hey, just go take a look.
Yeah.
It's right here. And I think that that's what the brand of Be the Keeper is all about. It's the B. It might be for Brandon. It might be for close to, beekeeping, right? But I think the B is for branding, or, my name, Brand On. It's
Brand On.
It's all connected. It's like put yourself forward. And here we're doing that through advertising people's sustainability commitment.
Yeah.
And that's special.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it really is special. I mean, I learned of you after getting interested in kind of the sustainability when I moved to Pleasant Ridge and had a yard, because I didn't have a yard before. And it was during COVID, and I started noticing, I was like, oh, there's pretty cool birds in the backyard. And then, but we didn't have a yard. It was new construction. There was no grass. So I had to put the grass in and stuff.
Because Pleasant Ridge is hot right now.
Yeah, it definitely is. But then I started noticing the birds, and then I had read a book by Doug Tallamy.
Yeah, everybody knows him. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So he's got this concept of homegrown national parks. So the thought is to bring, we've destroyed habitat by putting grass everywhere, basically.
Right,
so
yeah.
bringing habitat back home. And then I started learning what are those birds in my backyard, and most of them were they were from Europe or Asia or something. And then
the starlings
and different finches and stuff like that.
Yep.
And I started looking further into it. I was like, well, how do I get different birds here? It's like, oh, well, you have to give them food, you have to give them shelter and water.
Yeah.
And so you got to plant native stuff that they grew, that they developed with. So I say all that, and it's not a podcast about me. I want to ask you, how did you get interested in what you're doing now? Was it always a passion of yours, or?
I don't think it was. I think it was buried. At the end of the day, when I had to choose, when I was in high school at St. X, you had to choose a college. You had to apply. And if you get in, I was lucky to get 2 scholarships to go for, one's the Darwin T. Turner Scholarships Program. Throw the T's up, everybody. And the Carl Lindner Honors Plus Program.
Yeah.
So one was in the business school and one was a diversity scholarship within the whole university. And, you have to put in why us? Why are you the person to be with us? Because there's a lot of other people that are vying to get school paid for. And, for me, I think it was always about I want to help people. But it was never developed enough. It's kind of like when they say, hey, what's your big skill here? And it's I'm a people person. And that's cool, but it's never specific enough.
Yeah.
Grimy salespeople might be, Bernie Madoff might have been a people person, But I think for me, I was always searching for okay, every time I go on a job interview and I say that, they think it's weird and not specific enough. What is my showcase to the world, right?
Your personal brand.
My personal brand.
Yeah.
And as I went through, I guess the way I developed the passion, I went through university still learning about different groups of people, different types of people, which St. X prepared me for. Our motto is men for and with others, which is vague, but also you could look at it different ways. Is that other men? Is that other people? Is that men and women? Is that people who identify in different ways? Is that other species? Is that pollinators?
Yeah.
Other planets? I don't know. It's whatever you want to do it. And so that developed as I went on. But like I said, I was in business school trying to be a guy who connected with people when I'm learning about how to increase people's bottom line through sales.
Mm-hmm.
And but I never found a sales job. We had a thing, it's co-op. Yeah. A lot of the co-op pro, you work a semester, you go to school for somebody, You go to school for a semester, you work for a company for a semester, and you alternate until you hopefully graduate and start paying debt. And I say that because I didn't have any, but whatever. I took out a $5,000 loan to go to Brazil for an academic program. But I could never find a sales job on my co-ops that made me feel like I was fulfilled. Yeah. It's just, hey, you're the biggest wire and cable company in the area, and you guys make a lot of cash. And the guy who got me into college, helped me get there, is the top sales guy there, and I love him and he's great. And I should be happy here, but I'm not. Or my friends are at Procter & Gamble and they're doing great work, getting paid out the wazoo. And I'm like, I don't know if I care about that. And I'm like, am I a psychopath? Am I crazy? Because I can't, none of these, even when I go on Google to search for a job, none of these look cool. And I started to think like, am I like unemployable? Like
right.
Everybody else has jobs and stress. And then it was 2014. My final co-op rotation. Am I still staying on track here?
Yeah,
you're good.
Okay. This is great.
My final co-op rotation. And I was at this point, I've never really been a cocky guy. And a lot of cocky people say that, but, like I said, I've always thought of myself as a decent guy, and in all categories back in the day. Now I feel pretty, I'm still a regular person, but I feel like I like to fight. Which I think it sets me apart. Not like I like to fight for win-wins.
Yeah. You mean, we know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Not like
you're fighting for a cause.
Not bar fight.
You're fighting
not
for
bar
a
fighting.
purpose.
No.
Yeah.
You see me? No. But
we can tell through your eyes what you mean. But yes,
yeah.
luckily,
For anyone listening,
I like to
for
fight.
anyone
Yeah, it's like
listening.
it's I have to do this. But yeah. So for me, I said, you know what? I got a lot of special energy. I'm going to apply to Google. Let's freaking apply to Google. Everybody, let's do it. Mountain View, California. Probably some place with mountains and good view and trees and elk. I don't know. Let's go to Google because they do cool stuff. And I applied. I wrote this application and they got back to me and were like, hey, this looks great. Let's set up a phone interview. I'm like, oh my God. Right. And that was when I went to Brazil. I was going to Brazil in August, from August to September or something, for a month, and then school would start. I'm like, cool. I'm not applying to anybody else. Go and get this Google job because I'm the guy. Everything I've applied for, I've gotten. I've got good relationships with people. Everybody's healthy in my family. We're great. And then like I'm about to go to Brazil. It's like a week out, right? And I'm like, yeah, we're gonna lock this in, and I'm gonna come back. Not even come back to Cincinnati. I'll come back to Cincinnati just to pack my bags, go to CVG, go to Mountain View. And the week before I left, this guy sent me a message. He was like, hey, actually it might have been an automatic message. I still have it.
Yeah.
And they said, hey, thanks for, we actually decided to go with another person. So we don't actually need to have that interview.
Oof.
But if you're still interested in Google careers, please visit our career page,
Yeah.
And I was just, I've been lucky that I haven't had like super depression or anything, but sometimes I get really sad for like 30 or 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And,
He's like the happiest guy.
The intensity for 30 to 45 minutes
it's like,
get it out.
and I haven't had that for a couple of years now, but like I remember this specifically, and I had a Dodge Caliber at the time, I think, and I remember sitting on my, driver's side tire, like back to it, just like, oh. Like because if I don't get a job, I'm not going to graduate on time. And I was just super sad. I called Miss Summerlin, who's the lady who taught me how to write. And she talked me through it. She's like, hey, you got to keep trying, da-da-da. And so I get to Brazil and I'm just looking at I'm back to stress applying, right? Yeah. And then I find this place called Carriage House Farm because I had bought honey from them. Love that place. They're special. Ask me about that later in the interview.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I bought honey from them. I just call them. I said, hey guys, like, can I do some stuff there? I need to get at least 40 hours to get this credit. They're like, well, we can give you 15 pulling weeds in the herb garden. I was like, oh, sure. Great. Locked it in. 15. I needed more. And then I emailed the brandery and they said, hey, they had a lot of startups. If you look up Main Street Ventures now, I don't know, it was a startup hub for Cincinnati, but I think they've turned back into their parent company, which is Main Street Ventures. And they said, well, we don't need anything for the brandery, but two of our startups need an intern. And one was for a company called Quack. I think they were like a location-based alerts company, but they turned into another company called Centric, and then they were bought and they're doing well, I think. But one company that really got me was called Lagoon. And Lagoon was creating a device that you strap to your water meter, and specifically, let's say in places with high drought, like California.
Yeah.
And it would help you track your water usage. And I just thought that was the coolest thing. And my days are spent, and mind you, I haven't found a job that I actually liked, but I'm at this farm pulling weeds, and, but next to the weed is the basil, or next to the basil is, there's a host, dill, which is a host plant for, is it some sort of swallowtail? But it's a host plant for something. There's this caterpillar on. I'm like, wait, this is really close, and not on National Geographic. Whoa. And then there's this guy keeping bees off in the distance, and that's a whole nother story. And I'm like, this is different, but I love it because I'm using like all 5 of my, like I'm eating food. I might only be able to get to 4 before my brain forgets. I'm tasting stuff. I'm seeing things happen. I'm smelling the cleanest air ever, and I'm outside all day. I'm getting sunlight, and the other 2 senses, touching, feeling, hearing, tasting, smelling, all that.
Yeah.
Everything is activated. And that was depth to me. And meanwhile, at Lagoon, we're working on a technology startup that's helping people conserve water. And I was only getting paid like $500 a month from this, right? But it was the best experience ever.
Yeah.
To this day, I think that was when I realized that this is what you want to do. It's got to do something with nature and something, technology, nature, something sustainable. That's it. And
so cool.
I think it's so cool that your best experience ever only happened because of something that seems to me that you qualify as a failure, that you were destined for Google, and then Google decided that some other person who clearly wasn't as good as you. I mean, let's all be real about that person.
If you're listening.
Yeah. Google, you made a mistake. Yeah. But it led to your best experience ever, and this whole new life that new business, new life.
I think it gives me I got chill. I don't know if you can see this on the camera, but I got little goosebumps,
I think my favorite part about this show is Brad and I get to see people who are passionate about what they do. And I think it's Alan Watts that said that it's like, if you were to live a long life doing what you don't, you're better to live a short life doing what you love than a long life being miserable. And I think that's so cool that you found your passion. And anyone that's passionate about something, they're always going to be successful because you have your heart and your soul into it. You really care. It doesn't even feel like a job, which I just adore that story, how it kind of happenstanced.
Oh, man.
Fell into place like that. But Brad is really curious on how you actually help people set up these gardens at home. And so describe is about, how you find these clients, and kind of just like what to expect if we were like, hey, come to our yard.
Yeah.
I live in Mount Adams, and behind my yard is like this acre of land that's not used, and I wanted to do a community garden there. Unfortunately, I don't think there's enough light, but there's plenty of everyone, even if a small, like a city yard that I have, there's definitely space, to help. So
there's probably enough light for something.
Exactly.
Yeah. Very good point.
Understory.
Yes.
Yeah, understory, like spice bush, pawpaw.
See, he's such an expert. I want to hear like what's the process? Like if I'm like, hey, come have this yard. First off, how do you get people to commit or find them? And then what does it look like when you walk in the door and sit?
Yeah. And just to kind of give you guys some clarity, I left curiosity to apprentice at Carriage House to become a beekeeper. And that was the story. And then from there, I did some odd jobs. I worked for a green roofing company. I did some other things for a year. Then eventually I found landscaping. Worked for a company called Sustainable Sites Landscaping. We're still close partners today. We do all of our installs together. And so
it's you have your separate business, they have their separate business,
and we just collab.
If it's like a big job, then you're working together.
Well, we do. They are. So that was 2018. Now it's 2022. Casey, the owner, we're best friends. He was my boss, right?
Yeah.
from 2018 to 2020. I apprenticed under Casey to, we did landscaping through 4 or 5 days a week. And it was all, native plants, good mulch, great areas, self-sustaining stuff. So that was, I think that was a time period where, I don't know, that was very healthy for me because my office was outside. We're lifting heavy things. We're digging holes. And like, sure, it's I had some people that were, a couple people, and negativity gets kind of weird for me because I'm like, if you're negative, then I just steamroll past you. But one time there was a guy who told me at Christmas, he was like, I think and he was kind of drunk and my grandmother was right next to him. So she almost decked the guy. And my mom was dating his girlfriend at the time. This is an older guy, but now they're broke up because she probably found he was crazy. But he said, I think you're wasting your degree. You're landscaping and all this stuff. And, you're supposed to get, you're in marketing. And so it's funny now, it's like, it's all connected and I'm not. But, when I was working in landscape, it was the greatest time ever. And so now it gets to a point where, hey, I was working with Casey and I'm like, hey, we're at the job site all the time, but I am a hunter by nature. I will find people that want to mess with this because that's what I do. That's what I've always wanted to do. It's what I wanted to do when I worked for the wire and cable company when I was helping the salespeople. I want to be the sales guy.
Right.
Because I love that. I think that, being an average person helps me relate to the average person. But we're on the job site all the time, so we can only expand so fast because you can't take a meeting in Kenwood for a Kenwood job, but you're working in Anderson or you're working in Northern Kentucky, right? And so I started Be the Keeper. I did a startup accelerator with Flywheel, like we talked about. But I started Be the Keeper because I wanted to primarily, I knew the landscaping for 3 years. I mean, obviously it's Casey's business. So he's always going to be like, that's what he lives and breathes every day. He's at a job right now, right? Yeah. Decking out somebody's yard. But for me, I knew I wanted to create a situation where I could find people and get them to want this for themselves. And so Be the Keeper is my environmental consultancy with a special focus on the ecological landscaping where I can sell, bring in the deals. I'm like, Casey, let's chop this up. Yeah. And then he brings his crew. I hop on with them. We have, hugs and all the memories and stuff. And then we do the yard.
That's so cool. I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I did notice that logo on your site, which I also noticed is a new site, so it's looking good. What Maria B?
Maria B,
you're killing it. Site looks good, but I was like, well, these are two different landscaping companies. Like, how are they working together? But it sounds like you're specializing and working together rather than just totally going
head to head.
And it gives you more time to focus on the sustainability aspect because landscaping is, that's a very, very intensive job from scheduling and also supply and all of that. So that's great that you can focus on your specialty.
It's a mission that needs a good pitch man too.
Oh, yeah. I appreciate, seriously, because it's nothing against, my partners or anything. But it's inefficient for if I have 5 Navy SEAL landscapers that are just cranking away at jobs, right? And making them look great. For 1 or 2 of them to go sell, which takes a long time. Yeah. Some of these businesses that I sell to, the sales cycle is like a year and a half.
Yeah.
Pending that you don't have a hiring switch and somebody gets promoted. It's just, it's all
true.
And for me, if I can just live in that world and y'all keep slanting, I just bring us the deals, the hunts, then we can do both at the same time and no one has to suffer. And I can do what I feel like I do best, which is the consulting. Because this job, we may be the best at what we do, but this doesn't exist until somebody says this is what I need. Yeah. Until somebody says I want to do this, it does not exist.
Yeah.
So
how you're doing basically landscape installs for people. You also have the beekeeping stuff too, but for the person at home that they're not going to be a beekeeper, they're not going to really dive into this sustainability thing. Like how is hiring you to do the landscape any better than the hydrangeas and the the evergreen bushes and stuff like that they already have. Like,
Yeah.
how is this better?
And I think this ties into Morgan, your question about what to do in Mount Adams, because you have an acre, I think you said an acre of wooded areas. A lot of people, think about it. You can get mad at people for not being the most sustainable.
Right.
Like, you can get mad at somebody because they threw a banana on the ground instead of the trash can, which is actually kind of funny because you would rather that be on the ground in soil to compost than in the trash can. But that's a whole deeper conversation. You can't put that on TV because no kids would understand. And you have a bunch of bananas in Hyde Park Square and they'd be like, no.
It's Mario Kart.
Mario Kart.
So, anytime I think of a banana get thrown out, I think someone's going to spin out.
So it's like, you can't get mad at people for not being the most sustainable.
Not being educated,
not being educated. Because at the end of the day, I don't know about you in Indiana, but at Turpin and St. X, from even our grade school, we, either we went to class, we had recess. I went to recess on Blacktop. I came in, we had great kickball sessions, right? Mm-hmm. Came in, finished class, got picked up by my parents, or if I had a sporting event, and then I got transported to another building. And I stayed in there and did homework, played some video games, maybe rode bikes on other impervious surface, went to sleep. None of that required me to go into nature. Yeah. And so if you do that for 18 or 40 years, if you're actually getting paid at work and you got to go to work now and drive in your car, there's not this connection. So when I go up to people like homeowners, love homeowners, I know I do businesses and they're bigger, but homeowners are special because it's you and me.
Yeah.
Businesses, it's like, I'm talking to you, but there's like 1,000 of you and I can only reach like the decision makers. But, home, it's like, hey, I know you. I can call you directly.
Yeah.
You're like the boots on the ground. And so for the homeowners, it's for them to hire us. First, I just want to meet you to sort of talk about, why do you want to do this? This isn't just basic landscaping. This isn't just aesthetics, because aesthetics is what we have. It's dang, do I start naming species? I mean, hey, they're...
Yeah, that was one of our questions. Like, why are native plants so important? What are some of your favorites?
Some of my favorites, yeah. It's like, a lot of these people, they'll put in just these regular basic species that, are green and they're boxy and they may not even feed anything because they're not native.
Like a boxwood.
Like a boxwood. That's what I've been wanting to say, but I've been moving around. Boxwood. I
have boxwood in front of my house because I have a new construction house. And that's what they put in. I'm working on...
You didn't have a choice. Yeah.
I'm changing the backyard and then I'm going to get to the front yard.
Yeah. And it's like, I've learned to not hate these plants, right? They're just out here living. It's just the humans that put them there.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You didn't just pop up and say...
Uneducation. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for me, I guess to answer the main question is, how do I get a homeowner's like, hey, why do you want this? Because this is not the average thing. What we're doing is supposed to be the average thing, which is real life, what naturally happens outside before we came in and messed it up. Mm-hmm. But let's figure out how we can get you to have the aesthetics, the beauty, but also the function. Mm-hmm. Can't have too much aesthetics and no function, because then, we get new construction, Brad, and then you can't have function and no aesthetics, because then you're going to think like, why does my front yard look like a forest? Am I going to get eaten by a coyote? Right.
Or are my neighbors going to judge me and think I don't take care of this place?
Yeah. And so that's the thing. And so you have to sort of, it's always custom for me, and just kind of figuring out, just like any good salesperson, it's like, what is this special? What does this mean for you? And so from there, Casey and I show up for a couple of times. We get weird on the design, show up with our, I don't know, landscaping's fun. It's like a painting colors. It gets really artsy. Yeah. And we think about, how do we take their needs and paint it with a natural palette. We pitch it to them, and then they say yes. They say, can you fix this? Ultimately, they say yes. We schedule it and we put it in.
Yeah.
And usually we schedule in maintenance as well, which might include, a lot of people think maintenance is every month. We have an install at St. X High School. That was my first big job 2 years ago. And we literally show up. Well, we haven't showed up at all this year, because it's been 2 years and the yard maintains itself. But the first in 2020 and 2021, we showed up twice a year for like an hour or two, pulled out some non-desirables, added some new mulch, and then that was it. So for us, it's like showing the average homeowner thinks gardening is a job. Mm-hmm. But in reality, I want you at the end of the day, because people will think, why are you trying to sell yourself out of more money? I'm like, I'm not doing this forever. I can't just do I don't want to have you wrapped up in me selling you this business every year. I want you to eventually have a yard that you spend more time enjoying as opposed to being a helicopter parent.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I think a lot of people fear gardening because they maybe are planting the wrong things that they have to take more care of, and they think they don't have time. But with that education, and plus you get to, if you have something that requires less maintenance, you can go to more people and share that. You know what I just thought of? He should get in contact with like new builders and try to convince like, stop putting boxwood in the front. Like and that would be a good sell. Like, hey, we're selling you a sustainable landscaping, or like the HOA companies. Yeah,
HOAs would be fun because they do the.
Some of them will tell you specifically what plants that you can use. Yeah. And it's almost never a native plant. It's like hydrangeas and shrubs that aren't feeding anything. And
and that would
HOAs
be cool,
are very interesting.
Cool to dip into that.
Well, I think that's probably, this interview, this is a special week for me. I've been looking forward to this since we set this up in October. I think it was October. Maybe it was September. I don't know. I think I called you and I was like,
Yeah.
But today we're doing this and it's going to be fun and huge. I can't wait to show my friends. And then tomorrow, WCPO, we're doing an interview as well where we talk about the project. I think ultimately what's coming out of this, both of these together, is more people are going to know that it's possible to have a yard that gives to you, where you have a two-way relationship.
Yeah.
As opposed to, got to get back in the shed and got to shave this beard off my, it's, and I think that from there, maybe we'll get, I want to get in contact with HOAs that actually care about this as opposed to, because some people, it's funny, like I'm at a point now where my clients are all people that I want.
That's really hard to conquer, especially at the beginning of a business.
Oh man, like I was, it's because my first few years, I had to have a bunch of different jobs because I'm bringing this off the ground. Typical, it might take at least at the very minimum 3 months for us to go from meeting a client to getting the cash and the install, but I can't go without income for that long. So I was always, Be the Keeper was never, I have to do this. I have to get this deal or else I'm starving. It was always like, well, I'm fed here through my landscaping or whatever I was doing at the time, social media, whichever, and this is extra. And so each person that things felt great, that's who I wanted. And so now that I'm doing this more so, I think, full time, I'm only going for people that care. Yeah. If there's ever a situation where somebody, the first thing that they say is, oh, how much is this going to cost? Like Channel 9 was the best. I keep bringing them up. I mean, we're close to them, right?
Yeah.
Channel 9, St. X, Fidelity Investments. We got something going in next spring. All of those meetings were easy. They were easier. They were so fun because they came, I forget, a lot of people came to me first. Gosh, all these people came. Well, I was selling, I swear. But it was, we found each other.
Yeah.
Let's say we found each other. And it's just like, we care about this. We're already showing people news. How do we show people more positive things? A lot of people think of news as doom and gloom. We want to do something positive. And that was, the cost was easy. I mean, it was a pretty expensive job. I mean, I don't know, for a big thousands and thousands of dollar company, probably not, but for them, cost was never a thing.
Yeah. But for them to take that effort, because a lot of companies, they do care about the bottom line. Like that's
absolutely.
not.
That's all they care about.
Yeah, exactly.
You're going to pay me more money than you normally would to maintain your yard, to put in something new.
Yeah.
But eventually, those costs are going to go down because once we, like St. X, I could tell a perfect example. You paid us a couple grand to deck this out with some of your students, right? Sometimes we do student installs.
That's cool.
And then we have not showed up this year. So where you used to pay somebody to just mow this area and fertilize it, water it, weed whip it, maybe you spray food coloring over it to keep it green. I don't know. You have not done that for a full 365 days. So in as early as 2 years, you can have a a landscape doing its job, maintaining itself.
Yeah.
And
that saves a lot of money.
Yeah, it saves a lot of money. So for businesses, any businesses that care about that, the mission, they're also going to reap the benefits of the cash. And I guarantee you, as this pollinator habitat grows the channel out. It's only going to get bigger and bigger every year.
Mm-hmm.
And you get employees there going out and taking milkweed pods home. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over. And it's all because they started with the soul first, as opposed to,
How much does it cost?
how much does it cost?
Yeah.
What? Like somebody says that, I'm just like, what is that? The Mario, the do. What?
I didn't get my point across.
Yeah.
Obviously.
What do you make money for?
Yeah.
To spend it on things you care about. Bottom line, do you care about this? It's kind of like for me in dating, right? I love people dating, right? I'm like the guy, I set my friends up. I don't know. I got 2 friends that got married. It's great. I love it. I love people that seem like they are both weird in their own way, and you introduce them and they go on to fairy tale, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's so funny. It's like, do I go up to somebody that I really like, right, and say, "Oh man, their standards are too high. I'm gonna wait till they lower them before I go in." Right? Are you gonna do that? Or are you gonna be like, "Hey, their standards are high, but I want to match those standards. I want to exceed those standards. I want to meet them where they are." Right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I think this is a very human exchange.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's a long-winded answer that we were asked for, but it's a very human exchange because I don't need you, client. I don't need you. I need you. I need you in a way that I wish that people put more of this stuff in the ground to feed my friends, right?
Yeah.
But I don't need to sell somebody that I don't like.
Yeah.
Because that's less fun. I'm doing this because it's fun.
Yeah.
If I make money other way, like say if I had all the money in the world, right? I would still do this. Because it's fun. And do I want to do that? I'm here talking to y'all. This is fun. I'm laughing the ears off. I guess I'm supposed to, but this is fun.
That's your job. That's your job today. I would say from your perspective, because sustainability, like it's becoming more popular,
Yeah.
but it's still not popular enough. But from your perspective, what do you think like the local response has been to your efforts to make lawns more sustainable? Because obviously you have large corporations backing you. But yeah, what's been your take on the response?
Oh, overwhelmingly positive. Positive
and
but they
possible.
Positive and possible. I mean, it's great. I haven't had. I mean, wow. I'm still a young company. 2020 was a very big inflection point. I went through the Flywheel Accelerator at the end of 2020, and then 2021 was really where I started to actually go on my own walkthroughs and build up the brand. And now we're at the end of 2022 and we're already doing bigger companies. I think 2023 is going to be crazy. And like we said before, it's not just about the landscaping. Like Be the Keeper is conversations like these. It's creating a safe space for pollinators, which could be a landscape. It could be a conversation. It could be a green roof. It could be whatever. But for me, I think that the city has been super positive, and I think Cincinnati is the perfect place to do it. Not only because we get a lot of rain, but just because it's the city. It is the city of branding. You have Procter & Gamble, I don't know, 200 meters down the street. Yeah. Right? We got FC. You got all these brands. People love Cincinnati, not just because of our football team last year, and not because of UC and not because of all the sports and the popular stuff and FC. It's just people are pushed to express themselves here. And you don't have to go to, no offense, Chicago, LA, New York to do that. Yeah. You can stay here where you can build relationships that are real and people actually listen to you when you talk.
You should have created this podcast.
Oh,
you just,
that's the point of the podcast.
That's the intro to the podcast. Now we got that taken care of.
Give me like a snippet.
We like to ask our guests, like, what makes Cincinnati different? And I feel like you really touched base on that. And especially I know Brad wants to talk about Flywheel, but speaking, because you just highlighted like how Cincinnati's different. All the guests were saying like Salazar's came from New York, Molly Wellman was in San Fran, but your accessibility to like connections here and the support is so huge. What would you say is the biggest advantage for you, as a small business taking off like in Cincinnati as opposed to these larger cities? Like what makes it so different here?
Man, that's a good question. I have an unfair advantage because I am a lot of these relationships from like when businesses reach out to me, it's like one company reached out to me And this is in 2010. I was a freshman at UC. There was this really, really cool. She was super cool. Probably like one of the most attractive girls in our class, right? But she was our friend, right? But you just knew like she's got the brains, everything. Somebody needs to like study her her brain or something because she's like.
Do we
perfect.
need to? I mean, you can tell her how you feel if you want to.
Oh no!
We'll get the word out to her.
I know we're friends now, right?
Okay.
But she was like such a really nice person, right? I swear I wasn't trying to date her or anything, guys. She's just a really nice person. And long story short, 10 years later, she hits me up and is like, "Hey, I work for this company, and yada yada yada. We want to do things." And when we meet up and start talking about Be the Keeper, she's like, "Hey, I just still remember like when we met in the parking lot. I still have your number saved as cool guy because you're really nice to me." And I'm like, that is insane because I thought you were like, oh, And just because I was a cool guy in your freaking 2010, 2010, whatever the phones were back then, a Razor, I don't know,
that
Nokia.
Right.
I don't think we were using iPhones. I think we were using Blackberries in 2010.
I think, you're right before
2001
iPhones,
was the first iPhone, but
Yeah.
it's not that highly accessible.
Yeah, it's like the fact that one experience caused her to hit me up 10 years later and say, "Hey, I'm still friends with you on LinkedIn. And I see what you're doing, but also you made me feel like a cool person at college. I mean, you made me feel cool by talking to me, but that's cool. That's Cincinnati. That's, it's the relationships, the investments that you make years prior come back and hit you, right? I think that some of my favorite deals have been just people that I've met in passing. One of my best friends, who I'll tell you his story because he used to have a bakery and it's cool. His boyfriend works for a brewery, and they're opening up a new brewery, and we're sitting here at a Longfellow a couple weeks ago, and I'm talking to, those guys about what we do, and they're like, "Oh, we probably want to do some, we want to make some beer with some stuff grown on our property. Can we do that with some berries?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we could do service berries and beer. Let's put them in." And so we're going to be, I'm going to be talking to them in a couple weeks. But I was in a bar with you, and you're dating my friend. I mean, you're lucky to be dating each other, but So I think that the what makes it different working here as opposed to somewhere else, because think about it. If we were in a desert, if we were in where the World Cup being held?
Qatar. Yeah.
I'm probably not doing
that right, but
I'm not either. I'm not doing bee-friendly landscaping in Qatar.
No.
I'm not doing bee-friendly landscaping in like maybe Dubai. I'm not doing bee-friendly landscaping in the middle of a desert, right? So for Cincinnati, I think it's just a special place where we have this rich habitat of, many species of native plants. I'm not saying that there's not pollinators in the desert. I think here it's like we've got people that are excited to do this stuff, and we have the land, we have the water, we have the resources to actually make it happen. And I think that, from here, it's infinity and beyond. But I think that it's special here. I don't care if I was using discarded plastics to build roofs. Right. I think Cincinnati's just got that special flavor. Yeah. And I'm not spending my whole month of money on rent.
Yeah. That helps a lot. I actually just planted 3 serviceberry trees.
I keep wanting to shake. I'm shaking you with my brain.
Yeah.
Delicious trees or delicious berries from the trees.
I've never had them, but honestly, it was like, this will fit in this landscape. It's going to get a lot of sun. And I also have like ironweed over there.
Purple.
It's like
you're getting like all these gold stars.
8 feet tall.
Ding, 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 ding,
well, my wife hates ironweed because I mean, at this time of year, it looks like a weed. You know? It's just brown, dead, and 8 feet tall.
Yeah. But the pollinators, though, I think that from what I've heard, because I still don't know everything, but I heard pollinators will burrow into the hollowed out stalks of plants like that, and okay, cool.
That's why you leave them. Don't cut them down in the fall. You let them stay till the spring, and then you have more little bugs coming. Not the bad bugs, not mosquitoes.
The good bugs.
Yeah.
The good bugs. But that's another thing is, I love that. And I think to drive that last point home of like, why is it better to do here? There was a point where I left Curiosity. I was making good cash. I had health insurance, all this stuff, right? And I was going to Righteous Room all the time just to have cool drinks because I, drink, cocktails. I'm an adult. I'm wearing a nice.
Well, now I go to the Trinity bars and I see your name on the menu at places.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Comfort Station had like you were on the menu there. Like, what was that?
Yeah. Gosh, I love this conversation so much. It's so funny. it's like, well, I think to finish the point that I just said, it was basically like when I left corporate, and I swear I want to talk about this conversation thing. I was making way less than 35 grand a year, right? Like maybe some points between like 16 and 20. I don't know. It was so it was hand to mouth.
Yeah.
Right. And I was talking to my girlfriend who has another cool business of her own. And she was like, you know, if you did this in New York, because she was originally supposed to go to New York to pursue fashion design. And by the time she's hearing this, she might be the fiance. Right?
Whoa, don't spoil anything.
Yeah, don't spoil it, but this will be like a month out, right? It's coming. So hopefully
we'll release in the spring.
We might have to cut that if you haven't asked.
But I haven't asked yet. Yeah,
we'll check in.
Getting the ring made. So if you're listening, hurry up.
Yeah.
But she said if you would have been in New York and decided to do this, you'd be living in the subway.
Yeah.
You'd be homeless.
Yeah.
But in Cincinnati, I was able, with the cost of living and all that, able to actually explore my own consciousness, which led to partnerships, like you said, at Comfort Station and Sundry and Vice. Rheingeist, we did a honey beer. I think it might have been one of their it was a very unique concept for the time in 2021 to do a community inspired beer, for what I remember them telling me in the meeting. But the most positive collaboration was definitely the Comfort Station and the Sundry and Vice. I go to those bars all the time. No offense to Rheingeist, but it's like, sure. I live right next to Comfort Station. And I'm popping there.
Okay, so you're Walnut Hills then.
I was Walnut Hills before we moved to Mount Washington this year.
Yeah, okay.
So I was at Comfort Station 4 or 5 times a week, and I'm not even an alcoholic. I just go to sometimes just have one drink and go to Gomez to get a turtle. It's a thing.
Yeah. Oh, I love those.
So it's just like it was like crazy that we did this honey beer, and we used the funds to put in a pollinator habitat someplace. I put in the pollinator habitat at my mom's house.
Oh yeah,
right. And it's like, it was cool because, sure, I could have, taken that money and, hey, be the keeper, here's your cut from the sales and keep it. But I was like, I'm doing all these yards for other people, but my mom keeps talking about how trash her landscape is. Mm-hmm. And so we decked her yard out, and that turned into one of my favorite jobs. But it was so cool because at the end of the day, and this is true for the Rheingeist Sun Honey beer we made, this is true for the Comfort Station cocktails, the honey infused things, is that at the end of the day, I cannot go up to somebody and go from 0 to 60, 0 to like, I have a new construction yard to like, Doug Chalabi, right? Because they're going to be like, it's like, I've never shot a basketball before, but now you want me to be Kobe, or, I've never done hockey, but you want me to play for the Mighty Ducks, right?
Yeah.
Very intimidating. Whereas I'm just like, hey, if I meet you where you are, Morgan, which you probably drink alcohol, maybe, or mocktails.
Yeah.
Or at least water in cool settings.
Yeah.
Right? I don't care, right? Because we had mocktails, we had some of the cleanest water in the city, and we had great cocktails. And we had, at the Better All Comfort Station, great atmosphere, right? We're going to take a percentage of those proceeds of you doing something you normally do and then turning it into something that, it's, I don't want to say it's out of your control, because you fully bought these cocktails, right? But at the end of the day, you probably don't know how to put in a pollinator habitat yet. But I do. And so I'm going to take that momentum. And it was a small installation, right? It wasn't like we had tens of thousands, but it was like, hey, boom, here's something. And then we talk about it. And then you realize that just by that small, instead of going 0 to 60, you went from 0 to 13, 13 to 20, right? 0 to 5, right? Yeah. 0 to 1, right?
Something's better than nothing.
Something's better than nothing.
Well, you were on the menu, so you supplied the honey for these cocktails, local.
Didn't even supply the honey.
Oh.
Didn't even supply. I didn't supply one drop. Carriage House supplied the honey.
Wow.
Okay.
So
which I kept the bees at Carriage House, but
That's great. And then they advertised for free, basically. And then those proceeds from those drinks went to further projects. Wow.
Yeah. And that's funny.
That's really cool.
The beekeeper didn't even supply the honey. That's even a funny thing. But the relationship.
That goes back to your brand, though, because your brand like resonates and you've got that magnetic personality. Like people see Be the Keeper, like, I want to know about this drink.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't have to have, I could have supplied some of the honey, but then I've only got my own small hives. Carriage House has like 30.
Yeah.
Let them do the honey, because I want to give some honey when I have business. I would have brought you guys some honey, but I got cleared out.
Yeah.
Oh.
But, I want to be able to leave a business meeting and say, here.
Yeah.
There goes our samples again. Darn it.
We've been pretty bad. We haven't asked anyone to bring us, we didn't ask Molly Wellman to bring us a drink.
She's like, shoot. And then the new riff would have brought bourbon.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you like some kind of Cincinnati specific questions. Like, we started talking about neighborhoods a little bit. What's your favorite neighborhood? Like, what do you do for fun? Like, where are you spending your time?
My favorite neighborhood right now, it used to be Walnut Hills because I live there. But it is now Mount Washington.
Okay.
Mount Washington
Yeah.
for the sound. Okay.
Put them on the map.
Put them on the map. We were living in I want to talk about how much I didn't like our apartment so bad. But let's just say I lived in a trash apartment on a really nice street before, right? One day I want to like own this building and just be like, these are all the problems.
Yeah.
Like, stop with the lipstick fixing. Just like change the plumbing and we'll all be fine, right?
Yeah.
And put a new roof on. But from there, it was like, oh gosh, because you know real estate.
Yeah.
Real estate is very key to a key piece of my business because I mean we do our work on real estate, right? And then even beekeeping, when they go from flower to flower to flower and bring back nectar, dehydrate it, turn it into honey, that's cash flow. That's savings. That's what is it? Cash on cash, right? That's equity.
Yeah.
You know, when I have 80 pounds of honey in my hive and I'm using it at this point, I'm eating it during the winter when there's no food available, but also it's so thick on the sides that it's insulating from the cold. That's equity. That's generational wealth, right? That's real estate.
Yeah.
And so real estate for me is just, I love it. One day, you know, we'll have a different podcast conversation about that. But my friends
I've got event ideas going through my head. I keep bringing this up during episodes, but we can do some events together.
We'll do some stuff.
Yeah.
I'm loving you guys.
That'd be
I'm
awesome.
having
Give coupons too
Yeah.
for our homeowners that buy through us.
Definitely.
That'd be cool.
You know?
We could do a consultation.
yeah. Right. But it's just like so real estate is special, and it was interesting because my good friends and I, we gosh, such a special story. Please ask me about Paycor in this in this podcast.
That wasn't on my radar, so I'm excited to get to that.
Paycor, because that started my pitch to Paycor ended up taking a rabbit hole into me getting into real estate. And I have never told that story publicly. But I would love to because it's all about Cincinnati and how things work.
You can share it right now, actually.
Okay, well, but you know, I guess let me get the favorite neighborhood because I got to put Mount Washington. We're in, it's 2020. My buddies and I are getting into real estate. They had way more cash than I did. I had connections like normal. So, you know, we all got loaded up. They were buying fourplexes in Westwood and Price Hill, and they're doing their thing. And it was always funny because like, Brandon, how you know all this about real estate, but you don't own no house? Cool. Didn't own anything. And, you know, 2021, I'm pushing Be the Keeper and all that. And then, but it was a point where it's like we had COVID. Everybody's like, you know, I think people ask you all the time, is the recession coming? Right? Which I have a cool connection I thought of last night about recessions and pollinators and how they're connected. We can talk about that too.
Okay.
Somebody log it. But we were having such a bad time at this apartment. I mean, there was a situation where we had a legal situation where people were trying to sell buildings really hard back then or refinance or whatever. So I think they cleaned out the basement and just to be like, hey, this place looks way better. And than it actually does. And then they accidentally cleared out my storage.
Oh no.
And I'm just like, just because the doors broke down like everybody else, you can't just go and clear it. So we ended up having a legal thing and I got some cash from that. But it was just such a negative experience.
Yeah.
And we're like, we got to get out of here because it's starting to impact our creativity. Like, you know, I want to come home and feel like I'm in a safe space.
Yeah. And have a community.
A community. And luckily we had community in this place. I love that you said that because all the tenants, we all bonded because we hated this place so much. But we had to get a place. And at the end of the day, why am I doing all this landscaping for other people? But I've never landscaped for my own self. Like I tell you that Bee Balm, Leatris, Blue Star, Serviceberry, Pawpaw, Spice Bush. I tell you all these things that look good, but I've only seen them from I planted it at your house, and then you maybe call me in a year or so and say, "Oh, emergency! We didn't get a chance to do maintenance last year. Can you save our yard?" And I'm like, "Oh God, everything's almost dead because, you know." But I don't see it from like, hey, this thing started off as a small milkweed. and it's going all the way to fall, and then it dives back. I've never had a chance to see it.
Full experience.
Full experience. And so at the end of the day, we were looking at places in Walnut Hills. We're like, can we get something for like $135? We're still kids. We don't have all the cash. Can we do like a rehab? Because I'd done a rehab before, but where we sold it for a good price. But I'd never like, I was like, that the first house for us has to be a rehab, because $135,000 in Walnut Hills got you a shack with a shower with no plumbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
It probably has like city violations and stuff.
violations.
Yeah. Honestly.
Back
at that
taxes.
price.
Yeah. City
But that's
violations.
nice. You're still like Mount Washington is still close to the city.
So
You're like
close to the city.
15, 20 minutes. You have nature. There's woods there.
And we never knew it existed. We're looking at Walnut Hills, finding stuff for $135, overpriced, no value, 200 and something we thought we had to have. Then Mount Washington, like you were bringing up, we saw this house. Oddly enough, it's on Beacon.
Aw.
Nice.
And
I know that street.
we saw this house. We're like, gosh, this is like, it was like 186 or was 186. But we're like, that is in the middle of nowhere. And then we Google, and it's like, oh, it's 14 minutes from downtown.
Yeah. It's very close.
It
Yeah.
was very close. And so it had been on the market for 70 days, old farmhouse. We'll talk about this later. I need to get back to the pocket, but I just, my favorite neighborhood is Mount Washington for many of these reasons. This house was the original farmhouse for this area, but surrounded by honeysuckle, weird like plumbing issues, all this stuff, roofing issues. And it had been on the market for 70 something days. We had seen it before when the price was higher. It has since dropped. It was $199, dropped to $186. And we didn't choose the $199. I'm like, it's expensive and it's in the middle of nowhere. Then after months of searching, on New Year's Day, we're like, we need to change our strategy. We saw a house on New Year's Day, someplace 800. I mean, a small house, but it was just trashed. And we got to change our strategy. We got upper price point looking in a different neighborhood. That house popped up. And it was now 186. We said, let's go see it. We fell in love. And that's where we live now. All the honeysuckle's gone. It's all pollinator. I'm able to like feel my brand for myself for once, which is healthy.
Yeah, you
but
can
like
try stuff in your own garden.
Try so I can taste stuff. I know what the monarchs hit first. And the neighbors, it's like, it's great because there's people that have been on my street for freaking 60 years.
Yeah.
There's a lady that told us, she said our property was a rental property for 50 years, which is why it was so sketchy. But I got people from older generations, younger generations. It's such a diverse, from even not just ethnicity, but just the mindset of people. It's like, hey, you know, we're talking about real estate. You said you think interest rates are low because when you were younger, they were like double digits.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah, I do tell people all the time, like, honestly, if we were looking when our parents were looking for their first home,
15%.
15,
yes.
closer to 20 sometimes.
Yeah,
like, it's
all
like
about
credit card
perspective.
interest rates back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite like restaurant or spot in Mount Washington? They have like the creamy whips there. Yeah,
That's the one. That is the one. That is the one. Mount Washington Creamy Whip is the spot. I mean, it's growing. It
does
right
feel
now.
very like much like a little neighborhood. It's so cute.
I can't wait to. I'm going hard in my different business, my business endeavors and stuff. Be the keeper, slant it, doing stuff. But I want to, in a couple with my friends, eventually own a spot in Mount Washington. You know, of course, there's some like residential stuff, but you know, there's got to be like a coffee shop or some place where people can connect.
Yeah.
Or an additional place because it's growing. I love it. It's walkable.
Yeah.
I live there. I just feel like I'm a part of a community, right? My neighbor across the street from me we were friends, but like he did my trees. The lady on the street, Bar, Wendy O'Neill, I call her the mayor because she knows everybody and is a part of the redevelopment fund.
Nice.
The lady next door, the family next door, Bill and Rada. When we closed on the house, the first day we're outside, Rada comes out and says, hey, I lived in that house 30 years ago and I've been living next door ever since I met Bill. And I used to, because she was renting at the place, right? Because it was a rental property for 50. She said one day they were both recently divorced. She was looking out the window and saw this really attractive guy cutting his grass with his shirt off. and they, whatever.
She moved next door.
She moved next door, right?
That's all she wrote, folks.
That's all she wrote, folks. But it's just, that is what I need.
Yeah.
That's a love story.
It's very
if I ever heard
tight.
one.
Yeah.
I love it.
I love, like, everyone talks about the walkability and the tight knit. Like, it's very homey and welcoming and tight knit. Like, you usually, most places, especially in the big cities, you don't talk to your neighbors.
Oh, we talk all the time. I mean, especially since the pollinator habitat went in, I can't tell you how many dozens of people have come up and said, this looked like a crazy place for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
Now what's that flying on that?
Yeah. Free advertising right in your front yard.
Yeah. So sorry I spent so much time on that
No,
topic,
you're
but
fine.
I've never had a chance to talk about Mount Washington.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is. It's a cute little community, and they do have a lot of businesses there, which is nice. What's cool about Cincinnati is that we have so many different communities, like with it, that have their own little thing going on. Like, it's the city of 50 neighborhoods. You know what I mean? And each neighborhood has its own vibe, has its own positives and different little businesses. Yeah. But I want Brad to ask you about the Flywheel Sustainable Cincy program.
Yeah. What is the background? I mean, if you can just give like a quick background on Flywheel and what they do, because one of our recent guests talked about his involvement with some startup accelerators, but Flywheel's a little bit different.
Which is like Queen City Angels or
Queen
something.
City Angels and Centrifuge and
Union
like
Hall
that.
and all that.
And Flywheel is a startup accelerator, right?
Yeah, it's a social entrepreneurship hub, right?
You ever do radio work?
I
think you could. I think you
could. We're doing it right. Well, today, actually.
Yeah, we're doing it today.
It's his debut.
Yes, the debut. Flywheel's great. I've been through it twice. I just finished up their second accelerator for another business my buddy Johnny and I are working on, and Be the Keeper, right? I have loved every single moment. I mean, it's like the coaching. My coach from the first time, like I said, Greg Hand's my uncle, right? He's my uncle. We're not related blood-wise, right? But I will risk everything for that guy. Hope you're listening. But, but I have like a few, my auntie Kim McGinnis. I was in Boy Scouts with her son. Then all of a sudden I didn't talk to her all high school. Then all of a sudden I started at UC, and she's one of the advisors in the College of Business. And she kept me in college when I thought that things were overwhelming. Yeah. Right. And I feel like I would have maybe left college if I didn't have her. She's a aunt, right? I've got family that I find in cool places. And so, Flywheel, one of the coaches there, Sandy Hughes or Sandra Hughes, she's an aunt. And we still talk. She was my coach in the first cohort. And then after the course, she said, hey, can we still hang out? Because this is fun. Yeah. Right? She's the one who teaches me. She's taught me so much because she's been doing business longer than I've been alive. So what do you mean I'm like, you going to talk to me for free? I mean, I'm just enjoying this relationship, And it's just Flywheel. It gave me, and I'm biased. I'm biased ASF, right? I'm so biased, but because it's the only accelerator I've ever been in. I worked in the brandery as an intern, and that was a great experience. But Flywheel, as you're creating something that doesn't exist yet, or at least here. Maybe
how did you find them? Like, how did you get involved with them?
Yeah, how did I find Flywheel the first time? That's a good question.
Because you pretty much you come with a business idea, and then they will provide a coach. And do they help you with funding as well?
Yeah. So
you won a prize through, like, you pitched and won a prize, right?
Yeah, that was the first time they had done Sustainable Cincy, and they had it was a competition, and we took home first prize for that. And now they no longer do the competitions, more so like pitch and make your ask. It's not usually for funding because I think there's a whole thing in startups where you can only ask for funding in certain fields, like because the SEC gets involved, whatever. So we pitched for connections this time, and Be the Keeper, I pitched for connections as well. But Flywheel, they pair you up with a coach. They give you 8 weeks of content. And from there, I mean, the funding, I didn't need funding for Be the Keeper. It was just like, all right, cool. You need to have a sound business. Go make your money. Mm-hmm. Go get clients. Whereas, other people who have tech-based startups, they probably, there's some of their startups that have raised zeros and zeros of funding. Yeah. But the biggest thing I can say about Flywheel, and actually the current, I don't know if she's the president, CEO, the head of Flywheel now, Laura Tepe, She used to be on, you said if I did radio work, I think she's used to be in media. So, and you can, one day you'll have to meet her. She's great. And honestly, that was funny because when I first met her, it was as an alumni. And then when I went through the second time, she was the head of the program. So we met in a very real, rich way. But Flywheel, to answer the question, it's so human. It's like I don't even really need all the bells and whistles of, like if I need a 6-month accelerator. For me, I just needed to be surrounded by people who cared about my business and felt like I could achieve it, with some nudges here and there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's
and resources. But, Flywheel, great time.
Being an entrepreneur can be very lonely. So it's kind of giving you a community to keep you moving forward, it sounds like.
I agree. Loneliness is, it's solitude, loneliness. You're creating something that you think about it every night.
Yeah.
And every day. It is you, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that can be kind of lonely because, you see your friend Be the Keeper first started, no revenue. I honestly was I had to sell first. Meanwhile, my homies are getting, some of their little sister fresh out of college is getting $95K, 80 hours a week job in Florida, plus an Audi, right, with the company. I'm like, man, I could give in right now. And I almost did. 2019, 2020, the end of 2018, at the end of the landscaping season, I thought, I might need to go corporate. End of 2019, winter, same thing. 2020, Flywheel happened, and I had said, we're going all in. I will die for this work. Not die. I will die with this. This is better than life is fun with this.
Yeah.
I would rather live a merry life and a short one doing this than living a long life being happy. And every job that I applied for when I got weak denied me. Every job. I have not gotten accepted for a job, I don't think. Maybe 1 or 2 when I was working some places in the winter. But out of the 10 that I've applied for, right, since starting landscaping, denied.
Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And they said one of the people, they were going to pay like $80K, work remote because of COVID, out of Chicago company, and you're going to be connecting people for financial advice. My friend works for them. She's getting paid out the buku dollars, right? And I applied, and immediately, like an hour later, rejection. And I was like, wow. And I asked her, I was like, Caroline, why did they reject me? And she's like, well, she said she went to your LinkedIn and you sounded like you were too motivated by sustainability, and they're not a sustainability company.
Oh.
And I'm like, I can't even escape my old life now.
Yeah.
And lo and behold,
pigeonholed, but pigeonholed in a good way.
Yeah.
We need people like you. We need more people like this to take a chance to help the environment. If everyone was greedy and was just like, I'm not going to take any risks. I'm just going to go work 9 to 5, get paid, and go home, we'd be in a much worse off place.
Yes.
And speaking of involvement, Brad, you said that you're involved in other nonprofits, right?
Yeah.
Like the Civic Garden Center and Adventure Crew, which I've actually volunteered with Adventure Crew.
I almost wore the hoodie today.
Back in the day. Adventure Crew is really cool. Yeah. So I'd love for you to talk about why you're involved with those organizations.
Yeah, there's 4 nonprofits that get all of my mental energy. It's not that there aren't that many. There's so many great nonprofits in Cincinnati. I'm more of I thrive in subtraction. Like for me, I like to simplify. Like my Be the Keeper, my decks to clients, it's intro slide, values, and the conclusion slide is 3 slides. The rest of the meat is probably like 4 or 5 slides. The design, how much it's going to cost. I want it to be as simple as possible.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think my brain, because if it's too much stuff, I get distracted. So to help me focus, I have to keep things simple. And with my nonprofits, there's 4 that get my time. 3 that get my time in terms of like the hours that I've put in over the course of the years. And the 4th one, which is the Nature Center, is a relationship that we've been building. Cincinnati Nature Center. I got connected with them last year, and I'm loving how things are developing. And so I would say that it's a very relatively new relationship, but a rich one. Adventure Crew, Civic Garden Center, Groundwork, Ohio River Valley, and the Cincinnati Nature Center are the places that I think about in rotation when I get crazy successful. I'm going to be a dumb donor to all of them and St. X and UC. And because it's very special how they get people to have deeper interactions with Dang, is it nature? Yeah, it's all of them are all nature.
They're
all nature.
Yeah.
Is it Adventure Crew? Do they get kids out into nature? Is that what that?
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's needed too.
Yes, they say city specifically like city teens, right? Like, because you may not even. I mean, hey, when are you gonna fly fish if nobody in your family's fly fished before?
Right.
You don't know.
It's an expensive sport.
It's an expensive sport, and do you even know what a fresh fish tastes like? Well, I don't think we ate the fish, but you go hiking, biking, trail hiking, or trail running. You go sledding, skiing, snowboarding. Just so many different pieces. Like
they put on I think it's August, paddle fest, so you can actually paddle the Ohio River with like hundreds. I don't know how many kayaks and canoes are out there, but you're out on the river and going from I can't remember.
Is it
I know it's east to west, and then there's like a party at the end
near like Eli's barbecue. I think maybe the east end.
Is that
the end of the east end?
Is that where they put in? And then I think they're like
they might be
down
put
on the
in like
west
Kellogg.
side.
Yeah,
that
Kellogg
marina.
Yeah.
I've volunteered. I've been at the put in before, but I've never actually paddled because I'm always volunteering.
Working
like,
it.
Wait, where do y'all? Because I don't remember the names, but you're right. There's like a location where they have a bunch of vendors. Carriage House was a vendor. Like people love the party. Party's apparently great. But I guess anytime you paddle for miles and you get to drink and eat is probably
your reward. We ask you to describe, if you could describe Cincinnati with one word
or phrase,
what would it be? And you can take your time. It's we've had people say talent, catalytic. Brad loves that one.
Catalytic's my favorite.
Down to play, welcoming. So and this could surround like your community experience or, your business, like what you
Just
feel
how you
describes Cincinnati.
I would say I'm going to give you the phrase and the answer or
nice.
and
the word.
The word. Yeah. It's the biggest small town.
I love this.
And I would say it's connected.
Yeah,
it is connected.
I love that.
Because that's the pollination is all about connection.
Yeah.
And all of the things we talked about today, whether it's my auntie Kim in the College of Business helping me stay in college, or Dr. X, Grant Schuldeis, who's like my uncle now, who was my sales teacher, who told me that I had something special, or even you guys, Greg Han, Ann, like all of this is creating a full experience for me and many others. And I think that is all about connection.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's
fantastic. Awesome.
Yeah.
So the other question she alluded to, I like to ask, it's kind of a two-part question. How do you see Cincinnati evolving in the next 5 to 10 years, and what do you want to see and how Cincinnati evolves in the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. And I swear I'm thinking about these questions before I answer. I'm just like, I feel like I'm in the zone with you guys right now.
Yeah.
What do I think Cincinnati will be in 5 years?
Yeah. 5 to 10 years. How do you see it? Like, what do you expect? And then the other part of it is, what do you want to see? So if you can kind of shape it.
Your dream city for Cincinnati, what would it look like?
Yeah, I want to see a lot more youth, and I share this with Groundwork, Ohio River Valley, and Adventure Crew. I'm sure the Cincinnati Nature Center and the Civic Garden Center care about this as well. Mm-hmm. I want to see more youth that feel like they have to go some other route with their lives because, I don't know, maybe their parents told them to do so. Maybe it's because society said this is the proper way to go. I want to see more youth, especially those that are lost, like I would have been if I didn't find this, being able to be exposed to the outdoors. Mm-hmm. Because there's so many, I think that there's so many things that you can figure out with nature. Like I think Velcro is like what is it called? Biomimicry, because there's like when you walk through the forest and you get burrs on your pants, and somebody thought of Velcro, like you think of stuff like that when you're together. I think there are so many big problems. Like one of my biggest things is, as I continue to develop with Be the Keeper and do other things and, do real estate and all that, eventually I'm going to do this thing with my team where we have this thing called an annual meeting, and we go to a place that's so environmentally screwed up and we look at it and say, hey, we've done a lot of work this year, but we're at the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, and this problem is way bigger than anything we've ever done. So just so you know, annually that we're winning, but there's still mountains. There's still Ohio or Texas. I don't know. So a lot of it's dissolved. So who knows what the size is of plastic sitting in the ocean, right? And somebody's got to figure that out, or else it's going to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that Cincinnati and empowering youth, especially because they don't have as many of the, they're a little unhinged.
Yeah. They don't have the limiting
direction.
beliefs.
The limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that inspiring them to get connected with nature is real. I want to see that. I think that we're seeing it. I think in 10 years we'll have a lot of it, and it won't just be the greenwashing gimmicky stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, oh, this is actually sustainable. It actually makes financial sense. True change.
Yeah.
True change. I think we will see true change in Cincinnati in 10 years.
Yeah. I love that. I'm excited about the future of Cincinnati.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear your other interviews and follow your business story. And we also, this will release around April. So we'll reach back out and make sure if you have any like big projects you want to announce. And also, what's the best way for people to connect to you? Is it website or Instagram?
Yeah, if you want to connect
there's
with
a
me,
post in April on Instagram that you could check out.
There's a post in April. I can't wait to post about this, and I'll try to post. And then before Christmas, there will be a post, ladies and gentlemen. All of you folks,
I'll be tagging something very soon. I am a week behind though, so I can't say too much.
Well, and I think the best way to connect with me is obviously on my website, because there you can actually say, how do you want to connect, whether you want to have honeybee education, because I still do bees. I do it for fun now. Mm-hmm. Or you want to get your land decked out, or if you want to do some stuff like this or public speaking. But really, I actually, and while I haven't made a post, I'm very active in the DMs.
Okay.
I'm active. I slide into the DMs.
Okay.
Nobody sees the DMs, right? I may not have posted since April, but I'm in your DMs, right? Hit me up on Instagram. Don't be weird. And yeah, that's the best way. I'd say website, Instagram, and then, if you want to get all the ultimate connection, get involved in this community.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing better than you meet people, but your momentum has guided you to each other, as opposed to like I had to force myself out of this to find you, Yeah. Let's meet where we are.
So
I love it.
Be the Keeper, and that's the letter B, thekeeper.co.
Yeah.
I'm on.
Yes, everybody.
I've done my homework. That's what I love about one of the reasons why I love you guys. There's a girl, I think her name was Britton, the goalkeeper, played soccer.
Yeah.
And she owned bethekeeper.com, but I just checked last week and it's available for like $200. It's my Christmas present.
Nice.
Link it with the new one when you type in.
Either one, both. They get to the same place.
Yeah, Britton, I hope you're still playing soccer, but thank you for giving up that website.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have like the .io.
I mean, she must be good if she had a website.
Yeah.
Well, you guys heard it from here. Be cool, be kind. And Brandon, you were such a pleasure. Your story is great. We love that you're contributing to the community and the environment, and we can't wait to see what's in the future for you.
Wow. I can't wait to see you guys. Yeah, cheers, guys.